Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're working on my mother's 2011 Chevy Cruze. Yes, she has a GM product, and yes, I'm trying desperately to get her to sell it and get into a Subaru, but here we are. She's owned it since brand new. It's got about 110,000 miles on it at this point, and it has been a pretty problematic vehicle, especially with the cooling system, and that's what we're looking at today. We've got an issue with the cooling system. Drove it 3 days ago, started running hot on her. Checked the coolant and it was low. Filled the coolant back up once it cooled down. She couldn't locate the leak and parked it at my brother's house. I went, recovered the vehicle, brought it back down here to the farm, and now we are going to get into the repair. So the issue is the water outlet on the side of the cylinder head has a hairline fracture at the casting marks. This housing is made of plastic, a polycarbonate, and it is a two-piece that is fused together, and from what I can tell, that fusion line has let go and is leaking coolant out, and that's what caused the overheating issue. In the past, this thing has had issues with water pumps. I believe it's on its fourth water pump at 110,000 miles. GM extended the water pump warranty on these 1.4 liter EcoTec turbos for that reason. Last year, about this time, it sprung a hose for the coolant feed to the turbocharger, blew a big hole in it, same issue, dumped the coolant, ran hot on her. So this is just par for the course with this little Chevy Cruze. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the repair. So I'm going to try to show you the area where the failure occurred. It's a little bit hard to show you just the way the engine bay is set up. But this upper radiator hose right here, there's a parting line right here, a casting line. That has failed and coolant is leaking out of here, getting under the radiator hose and dripping off. This is that coolant line to the turbo that split last year that I had to replace. I'm going to try to push this, but I don't know if you'll be able to see that coolant leaking out at this focal length. Most likely not. So we're going to go ahead and get into replacing this, and once I get it off the car, I'll be able to show you that failure a little bit better, I hope. So first things first, we need to remove the plastic push pins here on this front tray, as well as these T20 screws to access our petcock to drain the radiator and drain the coolant to a level below where that coolant housing is. All right, once that splash guard is removed, we can go ahead and open our petcock and drain the cooling system. A lot of oil in here. Looks like we've got some issues with PCV or the turbocharger. Lots of oil on that charge pipe going in the intercooler. Something to investigate later. Once you've drained all the coolant, you can go ahead and reinstall that petcock, clean up any spilled coolant, and reinstall that splash guard underneath. T20 Torx and plastic push pins again are what hold it in place. All right, now the cooling system's drained, we can go ahead and start removing this water outlet. I might be removing a few things unnecessarily just to give you guys a better angle with the camera to see what I'm doing. But first thing I'm gonna do is disconnect the charge pipe from the throttle body, get it out of the way. Disconnecting mass there, or map sensor, not exactly sure. That's probably the map sensor. Seven millimeter at the throttle body clamp. Try to swing this out of the way without breaking it. Got oxygen sensor connector here. Seized up on that connector, just pull up on that piece and you can separate, get that out of the way. So change camera angle just a bit. This is our housing we're after. We've got our coolant temp sensor here to disconnect. Just push the pin in, pop it loose. Tuck that harness out of the way. All right, so now we can see that coolant outlet. We've got 3 E-Torx fasteners. We've got heater hose back here off a clamp, radiator hose here off a clamp, turbo coolant line here off a clamp, and then a quick connect clamp that goes to the top or return for the coolant reservoir. And this should just be a pinch connector on this hose. I believe you just push in and pull it up. Yep. So you just push this tab here and it flares out the sides, and then wiggle and pull it up to get that line loose. Got these hoses to take loose now. Now that our hoses are loose, we can go ahead and remove those 3 bolts. A little bit more coolant is going to flow out that was not drained with the radiator. Now we can remove the 3 E10 external Torx. And remove the old housing. A little more coolant spillage. Now all we need to do is clean up the mating surface and install the new coolant housing. All right, now that that surface is all cleaned up and ready, we can install the new part. This is a Motorrad CH2846 from Advanced Auto. Not a sponsor. Make sure your gasket's on the back side. It's got a molded gasket, fits in a groove. Just line her up and start your fasteners back down. Just gonna snug these up by hand real quick and then torque them with a torque wrench. All right, now we're gonna torque these to 8 Newton meters or 71 inch-pounds. All right, now we can go ahead and reinstall our coolant hoses. Grab that rear heater hose. Our main radiator hose. Try to orient the clamps in their original location on the hose so they seal up good on these older hoses. Hose back on for the turbo coolant. Go ahead and pull our coolant temp sensor down here and plug it back in. This water outlet came with a new sensor. And we can bring our quick connect hose from the reservoir back over and click it into place. We can reconnect the oxygen sensor. Like so. Bring the intake pipe back around, hook it back to the throttle body, tighten our 7mm clamp, and plug our sensor back in up here. Now that we have the coolant housing off, you can see that crack in that casting line a little more clear. Put some pictures up so you can see it a little better. All right, now all we have to do is refill the cooling system with DexCool GM coolant. Before refilling the cooling system, we need to come around to the front of the radiator and remove a 13mm plug. Kind of hard to show you guys, but it is right here above the air conditioning line. Remove that before filling the coolant. Once your plug's removed, you can fill the reservoir up until coolant starts coming out of the hole that plug was in. Once a good stream of coolant starts flowing, put the plug back in, tighten it down. This is plastic. You don't have to be super tight with it, just snug it down. We'll just run the engine now until it gets up to operating temperature, cut it off, top up the fluid to the correct level, reinstall the pressure cap, and we're done with this repair. All right, so once you've got it topped up, ran the engine to operating temperature, make sure both radiator hoses get hot, make sure both heater hoses get hot. Look around, make sure you don't have any leaks from that coolant housing or anywhere else on the car. Once that's done, proper level in the reservoir, you are good to go. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.